Welcome to another study of the Bible in its context with That the World May Know. The Bible is an absolutely fascinating book. God's great story reclaiming a broken world. One of the things that's amazing to me about that story is how often it intersects with the stories of other great cultures. Stand at the pyramids in Egypt and you discover the story was there. Come to Athens, the Parthenon, and the story came here too. It started in an unlikely way. God redeemed a group of slaves from Egypt and brought them to a desert mountain called Sinai. There, He commissioned them. He gave them a mission to be a kingdom of priests, a community of people who would put Him on display by what they said and how they lived. He said, "I will come and live among you, be present with you. And I want you to live a holy life so that you show them who I am and what I'm like." Sometimes they did really well, think David and Ruth. Other times, not so well. Then God sent His Son, also a Jewish man, who completed the task of redemption in His death and His resurrection and His ascension. And in the process, He called and trained a group of disciples, giving them the same mission Israel had always had. Be my witnesses. Let your light shine. Hallow my name. And then He sent them out to the greater world to show in words and in actions who He was and what He had done in His Son Jesus. One of those disciples was the Apostle Paul. Brilliant, trained in the book, passionate and intense, headed out to the Greco-Roman world to give them the news a new king has come, to mold and shape communities of priests who would put God on display. Unbelievable story, really. I want to invite you to join us. Discover unlikely people who believed that story. People who resisted it because they had another king. In it, you will find yourself challenged to become part of the story. Come with us. We're going to the great cities of Athens and Corinth with Paul to discover that as he proclaimed Jesus as Lord, Savior, and King, he did it that the world may know the God of the universe. Come, let's go see. The people of the Bible lived in temple-building cultures. Think of the Egyptians and those magnificent temples that they built. The Greeks and Romans and the beautiful temples around the Greco-Roman world. From the beginning, God wanted to live among His people as well. The Bible starts with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and God present with them, almost like heaven and earth overlapped, as if the entire creation of God was His temple. Then came their rebellion, and as a result, in a sense, God separated from the sinfulness of His people. He looked down and then He came down. But from the beginning, His intent was that His presence would be restored among the people He loved. He brought his people out here into the desert and said, "Build me a sanctuary, and I will live among you or within you." Here was God's answer to those magnificent temples. A simple tent shrine, pretty ordinary in a way, and yet right here in a shrine like this, God's presence and human presence overlapped just a bit. One tiny place in the entire universe where people could come to find the presence of God, to seek the forgiveness of their sins.